Number 9, Stuart Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for the Environment. What progress is the government making on improving management of fresh water, and particularly in addressing the problem of stock polluting rivers, lakes and wetlands?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
We've been progressively moving to strengthen national standards for fresh water, firstly with the compulsory regulations in 2009 that required the metering of all water takes, the first national policy statement under the RMA on fresh water in 2011, and the national bottom lines to maintain or improve water quality that were brought in 2014. At the Blue-Greens Forum on February the 20th, I announced with Primary Industries Minister Nathan Guy national regulations that progressively require fencing of stock out of waterways, starting with dairy and pig farms by July 2017, dairy support by 2020, followed by beef and deer farms by 2025 and 2030 relative to the steepness of the country. The proposal has been developed by the Land and Water Forum involving federated farmers and key environmental NGOs, and is a successful product of this collaborative model of resolving environmental issues.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Stuart Smith.
How much has the government invested in freshwater clean-up projects, and what improvements in freshwater quality have been achieved?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, this government has spent $125 million on freshwater clean-ups over the last 7 years. That compares with just $17 million over the previous 7 years. Lake Rotoiti is one of those projects that's improved hugely. A decade ago, it was regularly having toxic algae blooms. Today, all the data shows a marked improvement in this popular recreational lake. I was recently with Maureen Pugh on the West Coast at its largest lake, Lake Brunner, and there, with government funding, there are substantial improvements in water quality. And the third I'd mention would be our largest lake, Lake Taupo, where we are 3 years ahead of schedule in reducing nitrogen runoff into that very significant lake.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Stuart Smith.
How does the government support and investment for water storage projects help towards the goal of water quality improvements?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, water storage infrastructure can have a very positive contribution to water quality. I draw members' attention to the Central Plains scheme in Canterbury that involves substituting aquifer-drawn irrigation with reticulated water from Lake Coleridge and the Rakaia River. The excessive drawdown of water from aquifers and smaller rivers is at the core of Canterbury's water issues. The new scheme also puts far tighter requirements on farms for nutrient management. Another good example is the Opua scheme, where in the most recent droughts, fish and game were transferring fish out of other water bodies because they were so dry to the one that actually had the flows that could maintain that aquatic life. I also note in my own area, water storage schemes will provide dryland farming to be converted into crops like apples that actually reduce the amount of nutrients.
Question